Hi everyone, how's everybody doing? Hello, hello, hello. It is Leslie here with TSEC Health Hub. Hi everyone, how's everybody doing? Say hi to you. Hello, hello. It's Leslie here with TSEC. Hi guys. How are you? How's everybody doing? How was everybody's week? I just want to say welcome. Welcome to the TSEC Health Hub webinar for March. And we're going to have an exciting topic today, marijuana. I know we've heard so much about it. We think we know about it. But I thought, because it is a big part of our community, that it would be very interesting to talk about so you can get some background history on marijuana. Very interesting topic. Today, you're in for a treat. So, I hope everybody's doing great. Hope you had a great week and a great weekend. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start the webinar now, and then at the end of the webinar, we'll have questions and comments, and we'll just have a nice discussion at the end of the presentation. So let me just say also, last month, we had a couple of issues with questions getting to me. So let me just put out there, guys, I don't know who's asking questions personally. I don't know. My nephew, who is my IT guy, he's telling me the questions, but no names. So if I don't, say, hey, whoever, this is your question, it's because I don't know who's asking. So, and for the sake of time. So let me just get that out there. I don't want anybody to feel excluded. And if I do, please, if you know me, it's not in my character, it's not in my heart. So let's get started. All right. So because I got high, the many faces of marijuana. So we're going to get into marijuana. We're going to talk about, where can I go down and up? What about, I can't move my screen. To the next slide.
Hit your arrow. I got you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, sorry guys. So because I got high in the many faces of marijuana, we're going to discuss marijuana and really get into the history, what it's about, and of course, because it's the Health Hub, we're going to talk about what it does to our bodies, okay? So let's start with a disclaimer. I have to, because marijuana is an illegal substance, and I don't want any people thinking I have views, or Tyson Storehouse does on this matter. So Tyson Storehouse Health Hub is by no means condoning the use of marijuana. This webinar is to simply state facts about the plant, citing its positive and negative effects on the body as it relates to health. The Health Hub director, nor Tyson Storehouse Education Center, does not have a stance or opinion on the use of this plant. And also, we discourage the use of illegal drugs. So since we got that out of the way, let's move on. All right, so why marijuana? Why this discussion on marijuana? Well, first of all, marijuana is currently the world's most commonly used illicit drug out of all drugs. There are growing concerns about the increased potency of marijuana, meaning that the potency has grown. In some of my posts throughout the month, I had put on there about how the potency has grown, making the risk higher for psychosis and addiction and things like that. Also, increases in the commonality of marijuana dependence have been most notable among young Black men and women and among Latino adult men. That is the community that we speak to. That's the community that we service. So that's why I think, this discussion on marijuana is important, okay? Also, marijuana has many positive benefits and of course how it is used recreationally, but we don't always know or research the negative effects. So that's another reason why I want to discuss. All right, so moving on. History of marijuana. Where exactly did we come from? What's going on with it? Is it new? Is it old? Why is it such a big hoo-ha about it? So let's start from the beginning. All right, the history of marijuana. It comes from the plant Cannabis sativa. For most of our history, it was used as a rich source of plant fiber called hemp. Hemp is a substance of cannabis that contains 0.3% or less of THC. Hemp was used for cloth and paper back in the day. It was also used for rope, all kind of things. It was just a really strong fiber, and it was used for lots of things. Initially, it evolved in Central Asia for medicinal purposes around 500 BC. Cannabis was introduced to the Americans in 1606 and widely cultivated because of this high demand for hemp, which was the substance I was talking about earlier. In the 1830s, Sir William Brooke O'Shaughnessy, an Irish doctor, he found that cannabis also helps lessen stomach pain and vomiting in people suffering from cholera. So initially, at the very beginning, marijuana was used for medicinal purposes. Well, first it was used for goods, paper, cloth, rope, things like that. And then it was found to have several medicinal purposes around 500 BC. So that's where we start off with that. Okay, in 1860, the first American conference was held regarding the medical use of marijuana as an effective painkiller. Okay, are you good? So moving on. Marijuana for fun, now the history of that recreationally, where did that come from? When did it start? So by about 900 AD, the plant's intoxicating effects began to be emphasized, and the use of hashish, or hashish, or hash, I want you to remember that word, has spread through Arabia. Immigrants from Mexico to the United States during the Mexican Revolution introduced the recreational practice of smoking marijuana to the American culture. In the United States, marijuana wasn't widely used for recreational purposes until the early 1900s. So we're kind of babies when it comes to using it for recreation. Okay? So that's a little bit of history on marijuana. Now, cannabis to marijuana, the way it was spelled and pronounced in the Mexican culture. We're going to talk about the demonization of marijuana. Where did that come from? Why is it such a, a thing? We know about cocaine, we know about all kind of things, but marijuana is from the earth. Why is it being demonized? So let's look into it. So this is just a advertisement back in the day. I want to say it's in the 1920s or 30s, that started off the demonization of marijuana. So I don't know if you can see it, but I won't read it all. But what it is, it has pictures of white women, looks like maybe a hand holding a joint or something, and the plant itself. So it's telling you to beware. This is a killer drug. It's a powerful narcotic, and then it has murder, insanity, death, all of these things that would frighten you if you saw it. So of course that begins the demonization of marijuana. Okay, as we keep looking further, the Mexican Revolution, when the Mexicans were brought over, there was an influx of them, and with them, of course, they bought their culture, their language, their customs, and they bought marijuana as a medicine and a relaxant. So at the time, of course, they had no idea that it was illegal or wrong or anything wrong with it. They're just bringing their customs over. So the demonization of the cannabis plant was an extension of the demonization of Mexican immigrants. During hearings on marijuana laws in the 1930s, claims were made that marijuana's ability to cause men of color to become violent and solicit sex from white women, hence the picture of the white woman on the advertisement, while being linked to poverty, unemployment, prostitution, and other crimes. So it started there, putting fear around the Mexican culture and around the drug, the plant itself. The Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 effectively banned its use and sales. Okay, so this guy, Harry Anslinger, I feel like there's so many other factors that has to do with marijuana becoming taboo, but this guy, he was a lot of the reason that it did. Let me see, I'm sorry. Here we have a drug that is not, this is Henry Anslinger's words. Here we have a drug that is not like opium. Opium has all the good of Dr. Jekyll and all the evil of Mr. Hyde. The drug is entirely the monster high, the harmful effect of which cannot be measured. Some people will fly into a delirious rage and may commit violent crimes. It is dangerous to the mind and body, and particularly dangerous to the criminal type, because it releases all of the inhibitions. Henry Anslinger was the commissioner for the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. He was passionate. He was passionate about crime and drugs and everything. He was also a very staunch racist. Okay, he became popular in the 1930s, and he was, like I said, passionate about the war on drugs, and he used race and music to spearhead his mission, kind of putting them all together. So if you're fearful of marijuana, you're going to be fearful of the people that use it. He's trying to say Mexicans and Black people, especially in those days, Black musicians, jazz musicians. Okay. Just to let you know what kind of person this guy was, I thought it was interesting that he, connected marijuana to these racial associations. He said, reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men. This was the thinking of a lot of people back in the day, but he was, like I said, passionate about it, okay? So just a little history on that. Marijuana, where it came from and why it started becoming taboo. So let's get into why you get high. So I know, people have used it, or I don't know, maybe you've used it in the past, or I'm not judging, I'm just saying. And you've been around people who you smoke and you see their disposition changes. They act kind of different, they kind of laugh and smile, and everything is pretty cool. But I'm going to start telling you why you get this way, okay? There's a reason for it. So why you get high? Here's why, right here, the endocannabinoid system. That is a system that we have in our body. And it's a very complex and intricate part of our body, but the researchers and scientists still don't fully understand what the whole endocannabinoid system entails. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit for the sake of time, just so you'll have a little bit of understanding of what we're talking about. Okay, the endocannabinoid system is a complex cell signaling system. It consists of three components: the cannabinoid receptors, the endocannabinoids, and metabolic enzymes. And they all have, jobs and duties, just like most things in our body. So the cannabinoid receptors are found on the surface of cells. Endocannabinoids are small molecules that activate these receptors. So it's kind of like a lock and key type mechanism. Metabolic enzymes, what they do is they break down the endocannabinoids after they are used. Okay, so got a little bit of understanding about that. And what this does, it kickstarts the appropriate cellular response, all in an effort to maintain homeostasis. So that's what homeostasis is, just a state of normalcy. Our body likes to be in a state of normalcy. It likes everything to be where it should be. Everybody should be doing what they're doing. It likes that, okay? So let's talk more about what the ECS is. So the receptors that I talked about, they sit on the surface of the cells and they listen to conditions outside the cell. So really they're just kind of assessing the body, making sure everybody's good, kind of like, you good? Y'all good? Nobody need nothing. That's kind of what they are like. If anything does get out of whack, they start transmitting information about changing conditions to the inside of the cell. So in essence, the ECS helps to maintain homeostasis, what I talked about earlier, by ensuring that conditions are just right for our cells to maintain optimum performance. Isn't that interesting? Like a whole system to make sure every other system is good. It's like a check and balance. So I thought that was pretty interesting. All right, let's talk about how this relates to marijuana. All right, so marijuana and the ECS. In 1988, researchers discovered humans have this cannabinoid receptors, these receptors in their brain and throughout their body. So they have these little receptors everywhere in our body, and the endocannabinoids can come in and lock with that and cause a reaction. Okay? There are two main cannabinoid receptors, CB1, CB2. When someone smokes marijuana, the cannabinoid from the plant, which is THC, attaches to the CB1 receptor in the brain and creates a high. This cannabinoid is called THC, what we already talked about, which is short for Delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol and is responsible for the high. So essentially, when you smoke, the cannabinoids that's in the plant are released. And because we have an endocannabinoid system, we lock in with those cannabinoids from the plant and cause a reaction. That's what makes you get high. The THC is the cannabinoid that locks with our receptors, and that's why you get high. Okay? So what does it do? What does the ECS do? It plays a role, it plays many roles. It's a very, very intricate, very interesting system that we have going. It plays a role in regulating a range of functions and processes such as sleep, mood, appetite, memory, reproduction, fertility, pain, and pleasure. If you think about it, marijuana kind of hits on all of these areas. Mood, appetite, it does a lot for pain, and of course the pleasure center, which is why when people smoke, they get happy and nice and smile and laugh. Everything's good. Okay? That's what the ECS does. It regulates those functions and processes. And this is just a visual of the human endocannabinoid system. So you have your CB1 target receptors and you have your CB2 receptor targets. And it kind of shows you an outline. Some are both receptors, and some have one have the other. It's just they're everywhere in our body. And this is just a little, visual so you can see structurally what we're looking like, okay? All right, the benefits and dangers of marijuana. So there's a yin and yang for everything, right? There are several benefits to marijuana, several. But also on the flip side, there are also some dangers that we also have to be careful of, because at TSAC Health Hub, we want to make sure you stay healthy. And by doing that, the knowledge that we can give you will give you the wherewithal to go to make sure you say, hey, I know what I'm doing, but I remember Les talked about this, and maybe you'll think a little bit differently. And just for knowledge, because everybody's going to do what they want to do. I just want you to do it safely, okay? So why is marijuana beneficial? What are the benefits to marijuana? According to the National Institute of Health, people have used marijuana or cannabis to treat their ailments for at least 3,000 years. There was one article I found that said 5,000 years. So for many, many years, it was considered a very effective medicine. Now you have to remember, during this time, no one knew recreationally what it could do. They were using it simply for medicine, tonics and tinctures and ointments and things like that, because it helped with so many different things. They really had no idea recreationally what it could do. The funny thing about it is that marijuana has not been a medicine for only 70 years. So meaning at the time of the act was passed, when it would start being considered not a medication. And for so many years it was. So it's very recent that we've been fighting this war about, whether medically marijuana should be considered, to be used. So researchers have found promise in numerous medical uses and treatments. There's, like I said, there's countless things that this plant can do. Okay. Okay, just a few medical benefits of marijuana. Pain management, reduces inflammation, neurological and mental disorders like anxiety, depression, Tourette's, Parkinson's, sleep management. There are certain types of cancer that they have found that it fights. Glaucoma treatment, and it also regulates seizures. While I'm on this slide, if you want to get a better understanding medically about marijuana, there is a documentary on Netflix. It's called Weed the People. It is so informative. Very good. Even if you are, a staunch, supporter of not using marijuana for anything medically or recreationally, you still need to watch it. It is so informative, and it gives you, if you have an open mind, it gives you at least another side to what you're thinking. So informative. It's called Weed the People. I encourage you to check it out. Okay? So that's just a few medical benefits. So let's talk about the dangers. Is marijuana dangerous? I heard of so many people talking about, weed can't hurt you. You can't die from marijuana. You can't, get addicted. So many things that I know that I've heard, and I know that you've heard as well. Some of those are true. There has not been any record of anybody dying from a marijuana overdose. But there are also some things that are truly dangerous to our bodies that we need to be aware of and knowledgeable about so we can move forward safely. Okay? There are cardiac problems that you can have if you smoke too much marijuana or the wrong kind or a combination. Some cardiac problems are, it increases blood clotting. Because of that, it can increase the risk of heart attacks and arrhythmias. That can kill you. Maybe not the marijuana, but that. Okay? Neurological issues. It overstimulates the THC receptors in the brain. So remember, I was telling you when you smoke, that THC locks in with the receptors in your brain. And what that does, it results in a change of one's perception in the environment, perception of time, impaired slow thought processes, impaired muscle movement, and it can also lead to psychosis and delusions. Okay, respiratory problems. You have an increased risk of bronchitis and phlegm production. So smoke, let me just say this, smoke in any form has a negative impact on the health of the respiratory system. And this includes marijuana smoke, any smoke. And you guys know that. I mean, you can smoke from outside, you know what I mean? You can develop certain respiratory issues from that. Research has found that some of the same toxins in tobacco smoke are present in marijuana. Not as many, not saying that, I'm just saying that because it's a smoke, we still have to be careful because of our respiratory system. Negative impacts on pregnancy, low birth weight, and cognitive issues. Cannabis toxins are carried in breast milk and can be passed to the infant during breastfeeding. They have found that when you expose a newborn to the toxins in cannabis, it can have negative outcomes such as learning and attention deficits later in life. Also, addiction properties. This is a new one for me. I know that I've heard for many years that you can't get addicted to marijuana. But the thing about it is, when we think of addiction, we think of like acting crazy or you strung out or something like that. Not really the case with marijuana. By addiction, we mean physical dependence, which refers to the physiological adaptation of the body to the drug's presence, meaning your body has become comfortable with the drug. It's kind of used to it. And not saying that you won't be able to function, you just rather function with it. So not really addictive in the way that we know that word to be, okay? Let's talk about some unsolicited dangers, things you don't really hear about, talked about much. Edibles. I know that's a big deal. I know it's getting pretty popular. So edibles is a food and drink products infused with marijuana and eaten. They have risks that are different than smoking. It has a greater risk of poisoning. It takes 30 minutes to 2 hours to take effect. So because of that, some people eat too much of it, and that can lead to poisoning and or serious injury. So when you think you are, You might take a bite and you're like, I don't feel nothing. It's been 45 minutes. I don't feel nothing. You eat more because you feel like I'm not feeling it. Let me eat some more. And because of that, you can, flood your body with all those receptors. You can flood them with that THC all at one time. Can lead to not very nice outcomes. Okay. The amount of THC in an edible is very difficult to measure and is often unknown in edible products. Many users can be caught off guard by the strength and long-lasting effects of the edibles. Have no idea. Maybe they smoked before. Maybe they smoked for years, and then they have an edible, and they feel different. They act different. If they respond differently because it has a different effect than the smoke would. Okay. Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about hashish. Hashish. I don't really know if I'm saying it right. Let's talk a little bit about that. What is hashish? It's often called hash. It's a potent form of cannabis produced by collecting and compressing trichomes. Trichomes is the most potent material from cannabis plants. That is the most potent. It has the most THC. Trichomes are the fine growths from cannabis plants that produce a sticky resin. So if you were to handle marijuana, you'll get the sticky resin on your hands. You can actually rub that together. This is what people did back in the day. Rub it together and make a ball and actually eat it as an edible. People did that. Hashish contains very high levels of THC, ranging from 40 to 80%, compared to marijuana, which measures around 20%. So just with that, you can know how much more THC is in this resin than in the actual plant. It's the leaves and everything itself. So you have to be really careful with this stuff. Okay. As of today, so what's going on for today? How's marijuana looking as of today? So marijuana status as a Schedule I drug inhibits studies into the plant. So let me stop there and break it down a little bit. So drugs are classified they're classified by a schedule. So Schedule I being the most addictive, or what is thought to be the most addictive and not even used, to set Schedule 5, which is like, I don't know, not Tylenol, like tramadol, things like that, that lower dose, very lower dose of a narcotic, okay? So that's the schedule. So Schedule I drugs aren't even used medically. They're not even considered. They're not prescribed, anything, okay? Marijuana has a Schedule I status. There's not enough research to reschedule marijuana, meaning there's not enough research to show that it's safe enough to bring down to a Schedule II or a Schedule III. The problem is, it's not enough research to reschedule, but it can't be researched because it is a Schedule I drug. It's like, what do you do? So you can't test it more than it should be because it's a Schedule I drug. And then when you want to reschedule it so you can research it, you can't. It's kind of, like I said, a double-edged sword. The federal government has patents on various components of marijuana to use as antioxidants and neuroprotectants. That's things that help protect your brain. Yet they are adamant on the premise that it has no medical application. So they have patents on it. They believe in it, but yet the face of the federal government says no, it has no medical applications. Go figure. So that's where we are. States of approval. I put out a post about, there were some states that, I think I said 11 states and 20-something states had different approvals for different things. I know a lot of us thought that there weren't many states that are agreeing with this, but there actually are. So states that have approved marijuana for medical and recreational use are here: Alaska, Vermont, Michigan, they're all here. I think it's 11, 3, 6, 9, 11 states. I thought that was quite a bit to be approved for recreation. And then on the other, the medical purposes only side, I think there are 21 states that have approved medicine, which I thought was a lot. I was very surprised. So it's not very many states that, are on the fence or just saying adamantly, no, we're not doing it. So we are progressing, especially in the medical purposes side of things. I would love to see that. Okay. Oh, you're already here. Look at that. Okay. So I wanted to end this with giving you my thoughts quickly on what I think about marijuana and its medical use. And I'm definitely going to stay away from the recreational use. That is not why I'm here. I'm definitely here to talk about the medical uses. So again, let me say my thoughts are in no way linked to TSEC or its affiliates, but I have to speak as a nurse. I am definitely understanding and fully agreeing with the use of marijuana for medical benefits. I completely agree. There has been ongoing research regarding the use of marijuana in medical situations, along with positive results. So they've been researching when they can and where they can. There's also privately funded clinical trials going on to prove, that marijuana is safe for medical use. Because I'm a nurse, that makes me a patient advocate. And if it can help someone who is suffering from an ailment or disease and has been tested to be safe, I'm all for it. I think it should be available on the state and federal level. That's just my thoughts. That's just what I think, my 2 cents. So that is the end of this. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. I forgot about this. In all my webinars, I like to talk about Tyson Storehouse Education Center. I encourage you to go to the website, check it out, TysonStorehouse.com, a wonderful, beautiful organization. I'm just over one of the hubs of it, but so many things going on. And as you can see, our premise is educate, equip, and empower. That is so important to Natasha and myself, because the more you know, the better you'll do. So yeah, that's what we're all about. We're here to teach, because we feel like the more you know, you can empower yourself to do better and go forward. So also, we want to affect insight change in our community by educating, what we can do to help our community grow and be stronger and wiser, so we can be better. And that's what Tyson Storehouse is all about. I encourage you, again, TysonStorehouse.com. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. Also, Tyson Storehouse Health Hub, the hub that I'm over, has its own Instagram. I encourage you to follow, go on there, Instagram, and just follow me. All kind of stuff happening, and I'll be putting stuff out periodically. And that's about it for me, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Going to be a really good one next month. We're going to be talking about stress, kind of coming out of this COVID world. Not really out of it. We don't really know where we are with this COVID thing, but I think stress is so important to be talked about. We need to know, especially in our community, because we don't talk much about it. So please join me. Look for advertisements, look for reminders. I'm also going to be talking about other things that you might want to know about. Some free gifts coming, all kind of stuff. Okay. So I think we got a question.
So we have 2 questions. First question, what are the ailments? So what ailments is marijuana used for? Another question just came in, so I'll let you take that one first.
So I've talked a lot about what, I don't know, sometimes I think I talk too fast, but it's in my slide about the different ailments: Parkinson's, anxiety, PTSD, cancer, Alzheimer's. There's some research going on with marijuana and Alzheimer's disease, which that I'm extremely interested in because I lost my mom to Alzheimer's. So yeah, all kind of things. And if you think about the reason that it touches on so many things is because of those receptors. Those receptors are everywhere in our body, our bones, our organs, brains, everywhere. They're everywhere. So because THC is an endocannabinoid, or it can easily lock onto these receptors because we already have them. So that's why I'm convinced that it helps even more than we know. But there is ongoing research to keep going into all the ailments that it helps.
All right. Next question. Do you think marijuana will ever be researched further by the government in the future, or do you think most of the research is going to come from independent research labs?
You know, I have thoughts about it, but because it tinkers on the political side of things, I'd rather not say what I think the government will do. What I will say, what I hope will happen is that federally or independently, however it has to happen, I hope it happens. There's so much more media outcry about it. There's a lot of people speaking up and saying, "Hey, what is the reason for this? Why?" You know, social media. I mean, technology in itself is just a beast to me because it asks those hard questions that companies were able to get away with for so long without having to answer. Because so now that this technology is out, you can pretty much put stuff out there and make these people answer the questions for you. So yeah, that's my answer. I better not get into that part of it, but yes, my hope and prayer is that medically that they will do lots more research so we can get people feeling better and cured. That's my hope.
Okay. Next question. Is it really safe for kids?
Kids, I wish I knew what age that they were asking. Um, I myself have not done a whole lot of, I don't do a lot of research into children. I probably should, but I don't because I love kids. They're just not my specialty. So I always seem to go toward what I'm comfortable with. Not saying that's right. I just don't have a clear answer for you. But what I will tell you on the research that I have done, it does kind of mention children, especially in the pediatric cancer world. The oncology side of things for kids is there's I'm telling you, a lot of independent research going on. If you watch that Netflix documentary, We the People, it has a huge part of the documentary is about pediatric oncology and the strides it has taken. There are doctors on there that has quit their job and taken up this cause because it's that good. They're seeing reverses in a lot of tumors and stuff for children. So yeah.
The question was, we got clarification. The question was for the age range 5 and younger.
So yeah, that covers that. Like I said, I have not seen that because I really don't look to find it. But that documentary made me go look into other areas and just kind of find out because that's what documentaries do for me. They make me look further. And there are some great strides happening. There are some great things going on, even with children as young as like months, 18 months. So some good things happening. My personal opinion is yes, I think it's safe. That's it. Okay. All right. If we don't have any more questions, I don't want to hold you guys. Thank you again so much. Thank you for joining me. I always appreciate every time you join me and take time out of your busy schedule to do so. I will be putting up so many more advertisements about our webinar next month. I will let you know when it will be happening. I would so appreciate it if you join me again. Thank you so much. Again, you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you.